Alright, let's give Sunday's Daily Puzzle on chess.com a shot. This one's called Finding Your Inner Center. It's black to move. Give the video a pause and try it yourself if you feel like it. Alright, I mean, this looks like it forks the queen. Okay. I didn't see the knight protecting that. Okay. But there is a fork possibility there. That almost looks like a fork as well. It's not protected. My queen's in here. Ooh, this looks interesting. And I say that looks interesting because if the rook takes, my queen gets to here, which looks pretty nasty. I guess the king... Is the king safe in there? There's like no way the king's safe in there, right? I feel like it must have something to do with that. So, yeah, I'm intrigued by this move. I think the king could just go here immediately. Or the rook could take, and then I would take with the queen. And the king's going to end up here, I would think. And then I have this check. But both of these are hanging. It seems like there's a possibility that my queen and my knight could team up for a checkmate somehow. But either way, this knight is going to be hanging after... So if it's here, 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 yeah, I don't really like the looks of this move. I think is there another check? So is it just this? Because the knight covers that, so that doesn't work. Interesting. Okay, so definitely tempted by this line, but I don't really see where it goes. So this is a check that I haven't considered yet. There are kind of a lot of checks in the position, so yeah, there's like this fork looks kind of good. So like I could definitely like think about that. There's like a lot of lines that like a lot of directions that I feel like this could go, which is making it very difficult to really hone in on one. I wouldn't think this would be a good check, but it is definitely a check. But it blocks my queen. This is tough, man. It's Sunday, so I expected it to be, but there's a lot of prospect moves or whatever. A lot of contenders for moves here. I'm kind of tempted to try to just take the square away, like immediately. But that seems way too slow. I mean, like this rook is looking here, trading off there. Like even if the pawn gets taken, I feel like that's bad. It feels like it has to be a check. And this is like really where I'm leaning, but I have no idea where to go after that. And there's so many different things to think about here. I feel like there's just too many different things to think about. Like I don't know how. I can't, like typically if I get a Sunday puzzle right, it's because it's just like it's a really long line, but like the initial idea is really clear, and the initial idea here is like not clear to me at all. I feel like there's a lot of different things happening here, and my inkling is definitely this, but I can't really see where it's going. Oh, my queen going here, I hadn't considered it. Oh, I don't know. Is it this? I can't figure this out. Okay, so this is the idea, and I'm assuming. I was assuming that I take with the queen, but I don't see what happens after that. So maybe just having this here. Like now I'm seeing like this looks kind of interesting, but if the king ends up here, what do I do? I have to take this, right? Am I wrong? Okay. So the king goes there, and now what am I doing? This knight is hanging, the pawn is hanging. I don't really have a way to get in there. Yeah. So this knight has one check, but the knight's covering it. This is a check. But the king can take either of these pieces, which that seems like very bad. This pawn is in the way of my queen. I don't know what to do now. Like it feels like I have to do this, but I have no idea. Like my knight is going to be hanging after the king takes one of these two pieces, and that just seems really stupid. All right, so if I go here and the king takes the knight, I do have this, which is actually pretty interesting. I think the king would then have to take the pawn, and then if I jump back here, is this mate? I think it is. Okay, so the king can't take the knight. So the king has to take the pawn, but what do I do after that? This seems so stupid, dude. Is it this? Okay, the king had to take the pawn, and I've not calculated this line at all. I'm just tired of trying to calculate it. I do have this, but both knights are hanging. And the knight covers that, so I don't have... That's not a good move. Both knights are hanging. Check if... I have to cover this square, though. I don't have checks with the queen. I mean, like, this is a check, but what is that possibly doing? This knight is worthless. This knight can just go back to where it was, but then the king just goes up here. Is there a benefit to that? Was that pawn, like, blocking something? I hadn't thought about this. That can't be good, right? My knight gets taken, and then this... Yeah, and the knight's covering this. I feel like I must just jump back. There's got to be some reason why that's good. If my knight gets taken, I can go here. That would be mate, right? But this square is not covered. So the king can just go back there and just yo-yo, right? Is it this? Okay, I don't know. I got really far through that puzzle by just like going with my gut, which doesn't usually work, honestly. Yeah, so I'm lost now. I don't know what to do. I don't know any checks with this. It's not this, right? It is. Why would that be beneficial? Why is the knight moving to here helping? This is a baffling puzzle. What? Dude, this is like if someone calculated this entire thing from the beginning, you're an absolute lunatic. Now do I go back? I don't. What? Why is this knight being here good? And why couldn't the king have gone here? Oh, because then my knight would be able to jump here. Oh, wow. Wow. Tough, dude. I think I understand it, actually. Wild puzzle. Alright. I'm going to try to break this one down. I think I can probably do it without even looking back at it. 1 second. Alright, let's run it back. Cool. So, wild puzzle as always on a Sunday. This is actually one of the first ideas that I saw in the puzzle is that this looked pretty interesting. You can sacrifice your rook, and it's not really sacrificing your rook. It's kind of just offering a trade. But the rook kind of has to take that. It doesn't have to, but the king's going to be pretty weird in here. But the idea is that your queen, like getting your queen in here looks pretty cool, but the rook's protecting. So you trade the rook first and then get the queen in, and then the king's going to have to kind of go here. Now these two pieces are hanging, which looks pretty scary. And it is, but you can jump in here and give a check. And I noticed that the king can't take the knight because it's going to result in checkmate from my queen. So the king's going to have to take the pawn, which it does. And then from here, it seems like I was having a really hard time calculating. I feel like I kind of got to this point, but didn't really know what was going to happen. This check looks stupid because the king can just go back to where it was. And if I had this knight jump and the knight wasn't covering, that would actually be checkmate. So the idea is actually to sacrifice the pawn, which is protected by the knight. And there's still like a lot of lines here to consider. But the knight has to jump in here. So now the knight is no longer protecting the square because the knight is on that square. So you can actually now jump back with your knight. And the king can't take the knight because this would be checkmate. So, well, the king does take the knight. But now the point was that it couldn't go here because the knight would have taken for checkmate. Either way, it was going to be mate. Really tough line. Just a really, really brutal Sunday puzzle. But, dude, there it is. Thanks for watching. Catch you later.